With DOMA gone, more wedding bells will be ringing for same-sex couples. But is planning a wedding for 2 men or 2 women any different?
Yeah, there's tons of differences when planning same-sex versus straight weddings. I mean, for example, a straight couple never has to call a wedding photographer and say, hey, do you shoot straight weddings? Gay couples have to come out all the time, over and over and over again. And that's just, little things that come up with planning. But there are differences a lot of times with the weddings themselves.
I think that's really fascinating. I mean, Rony, you lecture about this as well, and you lecture about etiquette, of what you call etiquette of the rainbow. What is gay wedding etiquette?
Well, I call it etiquette, the new etiquette of the rainbow, based from my standpoint from finding rings, engagement rings, and wedding bands. I kind of tell people 10 years ago, it wasn't really much of an option to go get engaged. Today, there's a whole new etiquette out there. People about to get married, do they exchange wedding rings? Do they exchange engagement rings? Do they get diamonds? Do they both wear the same ring? So there's a lot to talk about. People keep asking me all the time those questions.
Well, and Kathryn, you are one of those folks that got married not more than 10 years ago, right? Back in 1999. I think we have a photo of you and your wife. Tell us about your wedding. Was it different than planning a wedding, for example, today?
Oh, absolutely it was. And just to clarify, we had a ceremony, or we called it a union back then. We now refer to it as a wedding, but we're not yet legally married because we live in the state of Virginia. And as you know, couples in Virginia can't get legally married, even with the DOMA legislation changing for us. So back then in the day, everything was a cold call, and we were actually amongst the very first of our friends to tie the knot. And many folks, still to this day, gay couples who have long since married legally, say that, again, we were the first to do this. So we look forward, my partner and I, to being able to tie the knot legally, at which time we'll probably say that we are married, and I will call her my wife. But that date is yet to be determined.
Oh, that's so exciting. Well, congratulations. I hope that it does happen very soon. And Billy and Pat, you guys are engaged. I have to ask the question. I think so many people have this question. Who pops the question?
Yeah,
that question we get all the time.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we inspired us to start our YouTube channel to answer these kind of questions, because I think especially when it comes to the gender role stuff, like who proposed to who walks down the aisle, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's not really a clear answer. But to answer your question, I proposed to Billy kind of on a whim.
Yeah.
But I think it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way.
I was a little bit nervous that he was gonna try to do it at the same time. So luckily I beat him to the punch.
He did.
So
and
it's like a race to ask the question then.
Sure.
Yeah, it actually is, because you don't want to, if you want to surprise the person. I'd been thinking about it in the year prior to when he asked, and when it was legalized in New York, I was like, let me wait a little bit. So I held off, and then he ended up swooping in when I was not thinking about it. I mean, I was thinking about it, but I wasn't actively planning it. So.
Patrick, did you have a ring?
I didn't have a ring, mainly 2 reasons. One, I was kind of unplanned, but second, I just didn't. Neither of us are ring people. We're gonna have wedding rings for sure, but I just didn't do this.
We didn't need multiple rings for that, for us at least.